All right, welcome back to another week of chaos and some profit taking. Plenty of that going around. And then there's guys that can just scalp stuff. I love scalp and chop, and this morning was no exception. It was a great scalp chopping scalping range. Jeez, man, choppy market this morning, but I was able to scalp the crap out of it. It was kind of fun. Now I'm just going to kind of go over QQQ, and then we got some new stuff to talk about, and then some stuff to revisit from last week. Q, I put out the old trap detector and it went right to range on that sucker, bounced right back to the top, hit our angular resistance. Now we're back in the lurch basically. This is the red zone I've kind of tripped up here. For if we break this with too much force, we could see some bearishness in the near future. And we do have some data coming out tomorrow that might just flip the switch on this. So watching this area very closely around the 505 to 508 area as key support currently. The old IHS kind of stuck its head out there. We did hit the 500 pivot yesterday and kind of bounced. I wouldn't call that a confirmed reversal yet, though, because we still got to get out of the box here and get back into this wedge if we're going to even consider it as a reversal. And then there's the weekly chart. Let me turn my drawings off to go over this a little better. So although we're kind of looking at, a pretty strong daily candle yesterday, we're still in this descending channel here on the daily. So the weekly, we could see a reversion back into this range bar down here and touch the 480s and 490s possibly if things get bad, if the switch gets sort of thrown. I would be surprised if it didn't kind of wick all the way to the 50 if that happens, and then bounce, just kind of crawl along. The 50 period's been pretty strong support for most trends on Q and SPY, so to speak, but we're kind of tripping the wire here, and we're maybe going to give us a little bit of a short-term bearish pullback here to maybe end up putting a cap on the old buy the rumor, sell the news situation, where inauguration day is on the 20th. Kind of makes sense where there's a lot of profit taking. The rumor is being sold now, and it's becoming news. So let's see what happens in the next week or so, and go from there, I guess, is all we can really say. So got a few new things to talk about in the heat strategy, and if you sign up for that mailer, you get the lead on it, but we get to give the details and talk a little bit more in depth about it here live on YouTube, as well as going live on X this week. We'll see if that works. I'll turn it over to you, to Matthew. How is it going for this week so far?
Yeah, so, bad week overall for the market, and a lot of that is rates. PPI came out cool, market tried to rally, failed, rates are still high. So keep an eye on the 10-year. We're looking at for opportunity. So, we're constantly, I've got kind of the longer term themes that I'm focused on that we've talked about, but always looking, hey, what are new themes popping up? And the thing that is staring you right in the face at the moment are these California wildfires. So one of the big things I'm looking to do is go long the winners, meaning the companies that are most likely to participate in a rebuild, especially those where that participation would be a big part of earnings. And then the companies most likely to get hurt. The mortgage companies, the insurance companies, those types. So, one of the most successful trades we've had this week is a symbol TTEK, T-T-E-K, which is
TTEK?
something that, yeah, Tetra Technology.
I've heard of that one before. Tetra Tech.
I had never heard of this one before. So what I do is when I see a potential theme, I put it into AI, use some parameters and say, hey, who are the winners? And these guys were one of the first ones that it brought up. So far, so good on that trade.
This might have been one of the things we scalped back in 2020. That's why I remember it. Giant cup and handle on the weekly, came down, handled, trended up, hit resistance, gave the half back. I kind of like it here. It's got a good support area, right in range of those bars there. That's actually looking, that would have been a solid entry off the $40 push right there, right through that range bar. And then
Yeah,
if we,
probably about where I got in.
and this is kind of like the textbook double bottom here. The second low always finds liquidity a little lower than the first low. And you definitely got that story happening here. We just pushed above the mean. Yeah, the neckline's like right up here, $43 short-term target, about where the 200 is. If we break out above that, there's a massive gap to close right up here to 48 bucks. I like you this one. I think I'm gonna put this on the radar for me.
There you go. Here's another one for you. ACM as in Mary. ACOM Technology.
ACM,
Yep. Not to be confused with ACN, which is Accenture.
right? That's got a hell of a move. Let me mark this out. Kind of block trading is kind of, you can call me a blockhead sometimes. I'll own that name. Looking for support right in here, and about 107. A half an mm above the previous high would send us right to about 121 and some change. I could even call that a self-proclaimed market maker's target. So, market maker, self-proclaimed analyst target. I wish I was a market maker. I like to trade like one, or I like to think I trade like one. I love to sell a
Yeah.
lot of premium. But yeah, looking at that, primary move set up. We're accumulated. We're breaking into a resistance area at the daily 50. We push that. It's game on. Short-term reversion targets right there. Just break above about 112.40, and we got it going. I like you. And this one, what does this company do?
I don't remember. Something, engineering, construction related. AI thinks they could get some contracts from a rebuild.
Gotcha. I was kind of trying to find if there were any like 3D home printing or some sort of alternative or like eco-friendly, sustainable builder out there to kind of fill the
So the
void.
two home builders I'm in are Toll Brothers and KBH.
I checked
Those
out
guys
Tuttle.
look like the most likely to get the contracts to rebuild.
Yeah, that's kind of one that I looked at first was TOL, and it's right in that support area. It's got a pretty good chance of at least reverting the previous drop here. I don't know what
I mean,
caused
the
that sell-off.
problem you got with the home builders is higher rates. So if you look at this chart of Toll Brothers, I mean, it's come down from like 170 to 120 in the space of what, a month and a half. And that's rate driven. Um, Figuring at some point rates have to top out, plus the headwinds from some potential contracts here. I mean, this could be a good one.
I mean, it'll be a fight with the insurance companies at first, I'm sure, but once that's all resolved, yeah, these guys would definitely take this to the moon. I can see short-term reversion targets pretty obvious. There's a nice clean liquidity zone right back here from that daily wick. So upper range target about 140.50, and then you hit liquidity about 137.5 off this move. If we get outside the 200, that's a pretty much sure shot. I would say there's a key pivot right here to break first at about 132. Yeah, TA fits. It's not quite a textbook double bottom by any means, but it accumulated. It's at least threatening to fail a bear flag here, unless this ends up being a liquidity grab where they short it more, which is possible, but I don't know. I don't think the shorts are going to take on a new position here unless they see it absolutely reject that 200, which is right in there too. Definitely going to keep an eye on this one. And it's just one of a few builders in the area that have an opportunity here. It's really going to depend on a lot of things, though, and I think the insurance companies are going to be the one to deal with first. But are there any good shorts in that area for insurance yet, or?
Yeah. So the best one is MCY.
Mercury General. I think that ship might have already sailed.
I probably now theoretically, I have heard some chatter of people thinking they go to zero. So if that,
Dang.
but yeah, would I be initiating a new short here? No, I wouldn't. But certainly one to keep an eye on. I am also short Allstate on Chubb, which is CB, but not short Travelers
Lay out the MMs here if I can.
and Travelers. I mean, those aren't nearly as fun because none of those companies is going bankrupt.
No, not anytime soon. We hope.
But I am short them as well, figuring they're the most likely to get hit.
Yeah, that would take Mercury General right down to, I mean, well, back to their all-time low down here at 2480-ish. Gosh, that's an extension. Or the midline would be right about where that third block stops. So it's got a little
Yeah.
legs left in it for short, down to like 32 at least. But um, man, they jumped on that, didn't they? As soon as the fire was lit, they were short this thing. I'm not saying there's arsonists out there, but wait a minute. I better shut my mouth. I don't want to get taken out by Uncle Louie. Um, and then the other one was Travelers. Is that TRV?
PRV.
Hey, that one's still underway. But again, it's not going to go bankrupt anytime soon. But short term, they're going to
No,
be
but it could break below the 200-day. You've got, some support, resistance. I mean, certainly you've got some potential downside here.
they'll be coughing up
You're
some
not going to
change.
get
Yeah,
rich shorting Travelers, Allstate, and Chubb, but and especially with this market the way it is, I want short exposure wherever I can find it.
right. And we're looking at the possibility. I mean, after inauguration day, we could see some pretty serious bearishness in the short term anyway. So, if you're going to find some decent shorts out there, this is kind of the time to take advantage of them, and then that'll kind of boost your dry powder, so to speak, to take advantage of the upswing when things bottom out and start to return, back to the all-time highs again. And that's always kind of a crapshoot when you got a new president coming in the door. I mean, the beginning of the last Trump era was really good, and then it, started going into the I'm going to tweet every 15 minutes about new tariffs, and the market was great and volatile at that point. But I don't know. Could it make volatility great again? I think that's probably the theme here. Is we're going to at least see some volatility, and then in the short term, we're going to have a few bears to get our teeth into here. I'd say a short-term target just under the daily 200 here on Travelers would be appropriate, down to about 223 or so. And then, if things end up, and they always do. I mean, when you start having Biden come out saying spare no expense and we're going to pay for all this, can there be some reprise there in the insurance company shorts? Maybe, but I don't think it's going to be all that significant compared to the amount of damage. I mean, you got thousands and thousands of homes wiped out here instead of the usual hundreds of homes. So I mean,
Yep.
it's a bit different this time. And then the winds are kicking up again today. There's some tragedy. I've got some friends like putting, from California, throwing up some GoFundMe sites and stuff. They're just, I mean, absolute turning into a desperate situation before it's even done. And it's a sad story, but I'm kind of glad I moved out of there. So don't want to live there anymore. There's a couple other themes we were kind of touching on last
Well,
week.
hold on. Let me give you one more. This is
Oh,
a
sure.
speculative one. On the long side, it's a water company in California. It's Cadiz. The symbol is C as in cat, D as in dog, Z as in zebra, I as in igloo.
Where did I hear this one? Is this one
Again,
on
it's
the?
speculative. Either this is going to be a big winner or a big loser.
Yeah.
And you can see from the chart activity, people haven't really figured out exactly which.
I always look at the weekly, sometimes the monthly. Monthly would say this is like the end of market structure, where if trends were to happen, it would start here ish. Tried here, didn't get it, but good lord, at one point that thing was insane. So you go to the weekly chart, short-term reversion target pretty obvious, 750. If we get outside the weekly 200, we have. So we got a good shot of getting through there. A little bit of liquidity zone right in here. You can see there were some sellers previous to this that are taking advantage of that same area now. Um, yeah, I like this one if people figure out what to do with it. And if we break this LZ, it's market structure resistance area, pretty obvious. Reversion targets are right there. This could be a decent little penny stock to scalp, and I'm sure it's optionable if you're looking at it.
It is optionable.
There might be some.
Only goes out to August, which is fine. I mean, I like going out further, but I got a slew of the fives.
I'm the crazy nutter who will go and sell like intrinsically locked in the money puts on something like that,
Yeah.
and then either BTC them or whatever. But and if it had more range, like if it had like a 5 wide spread, I've been known to go and like sell a in the money 5 wide put spread and allow assignment on the short one and then keep the long one as a hedge, so it's like a net neutral position. You can sell short-term covered calls on a trend. I like doing that too, but this is not one of those.
Well,
um, this guy's got an obvious reversion target, though. I think this might be a good short-term. I wish it had weeklies how's the spread on it though for bid ask on the short-term stuff? That's what I would like to know.
short-term stuff I haven't really looked. Let's see. CBZI.
I still haven't bought the live options data on this thing yet, but let me see here.
I mean, they've got pretty decent open interest for a $5 stock.
I'd almost say there'd probably be like a nickel wide bid ask spread on it. You could theoretically wheel trade something like this, but I don't know if it'd be a long enough term if that open interest would sustain. Um, like if I'm comparing it to something that I am wheel trading like BITF, that's got weeklies with tons of volatility in it, and you can swing those all day long. This would be a different story, but you could make a little income until it hits that reversion target pretty easily. Selling like 450 puts if it has them, and then run for some 550 covered calls or $6 covered calls. You could make a little bit of premium on this thing while it moves. Definitely one to watch though, because I mean, if things get really exciting, it's got lots of room to run. I mean, there's reversion all over this thing. And you look at that monthly chart, and it's like, good lord, psychosis could really take effect on this thing. In fact, I'm going to print out a few of those pivot points here. $15.10 is like the upper range, market structure high here. So if it breaks out above that 650, 750 target there, that's a pretty good range to give you on extension. And then let's blow up the chart. I've had to do this with many penny stocks in the past, and I always look for the big candles to the left on the longer term charts to pick off these levels. You got a level here at like $20. And this is like way outside of like, don't let your hopium and dreamium, rope you into FOMOing this thing, because yeah, you're going to be in scalp mode for sure on this thing until it starts to really trend. But I would say if it gets above, 15 or so and starts to trend there, then yeah, you can walk it up to the next levels. But until then, scalp the short term. But yeah, if this is a good water development, and there's going to be lots of work for them to do over there because they're going to need lots of water, that'd be a way to go. Way back in the day, for a short time in my life, I worked on a project in water development in California, and helped build an aquifer, basically a drain in a lake on the upper mountains to feed the aqueduct. And when those projects go big, I mean, the contractors just rake in all kinds of work. So, I mean, I can see that once they start doing that, yeah, they could definitely give an opportunity here to get into a really good long-term swing on this thing.
Yep.
I like it. I'll keep an eye on this thing. And short term, let me see if I can pick off something a little shorter for better entries here. Let's try resetting the chart so we can see the range. Here we go. We've made the half back from this trend here. We tapped it with a wick down here to about 488 and bounced. Half back bulls would look for about 523 for day trading to exit here. And then once the day traders finish consolidating in this range between about 525 and about, let's call it 490 to round it, range that. If it holds here and starts the trend, that's where I'd start to take advantage of this thing. Give it an A to B in the liquidity zone from about 530 to 580. And from there, short-term stuff can take profit, leave some runners on, and ride. This thing could trend here. I'd definitely add this one. Let me put that in my other list here. So CDZI. I love scalping pennies, and it's like a hobby. When I get bored scalping futures, I'll go scalp some pennies and stuff. But I also teach with them. Price action's awesome on penny stocks, and it's like learning price action the hard way. But once you get it, and then you go scalp some futures for a while and come back to penny stocks. Penny stocks are easy. Like, I mean, you just point and click and make money. It's like a video game that pays dividends. You just ding, you get your score up. All right. Any other fun stuff to get into, or should we go and do some reviews?
Two other areas I'd start looking into. Three, sorry. All that Jensen mentioned last week. What is today? Tuesday? Yeah, last week. Robotics, AI agents, and self-driving cars. We've been writing about all those lately in the Heat Journal, using AI to kind of, build out and try and see who the winners and losers are, because quite honestly, I don't know what any of those things are. And I'm starting to build some longer term positions. All of the names in there are pretty volatile, but stuff I'm sure we'll be talking about on future things.
I mean, it's kind of the right time of year for Amazon to mention iRobot again.
Yeah.
It's right in that support area around $8 where we kind of clocked that out. This is basic market structure, and this one was one of the ones we talked about in the past, and it does everything we say it's going to do. It's unanimous. Now we're looking at kind of a consolidation period where, yeah, if we start seeing this theme start to take action here, I mean, the halfback's got pretty good range from about 825 to about 1050. Pretty obvious one there. Mark that pivot. And then if we find support in here and you start to see, the chatter start to fall through, this could get talked about pretty quick. I mean, you look just very short time ago here, we've made that run. This would be like a reversion for half-back trade. I love scalping half-backs. That's my bread and butter. And it says it's likely to bounce about here. So give this a few minutes. We should see Amazon start to talk about it or something. And Jensen talking about this sector already brings some attention to it. And pay attention to what is down here. So we have the daily 50 period. If we close a nice daily doji here, this is just an iconic setup for a halfback. So definitely keep an eye on this thing for a short-term scalp and maybe some long-term stuff with it later on. If it ever does break out a market structure here, and that's about where the market structure price target would be, about 1050, we got a pretty good shot of shooting for low range reversion to like $19. It's possible. Can it get up into the 40s? It's going to take some time. It's going to pull a Peloton and crawl along for a long time first. But in the meantime, definitely some good volatility to scalp there. There was another robotics company, and I can't remember the dang ticker, that was starting to incorporate some AI stuff. Damn.
There's one that's kicking ass today. Unfortunately, it doesn't have options. I did buy some shares, but not enough to make a difference. That's RR.
Oh yeah,
Rich
Rich
Tech
Tech.
Robotics.
This has been another penny stock that we'd scalped in the bullish bears, and
Yeah, I bought it yesterday at like the lows, but again, didn't have options. So, I mean, I'm up nice, but not what I would be if I had some calls, which
when you don't
pisses
see
me
the
off.
boxes on my chart, and it's mostly just pivot points. This is my old dope. This is one we traded a long time ago. But here we did have a key liquidity zone, and it eventually smoked out of that thing. I'm sad I missed that one. That should have been on my radar. I gotta somehow remember to put alerts on these things so they pop up when I want them to, not when the you know other analysts are talking about them. But this one looks like we've already made the half back from this trend here. That's where this wick stopped, but it ain't done yet. There's still some buyers in here right now as we speak, and if they start pushing it above that midline about 330 or so, we could see this thing break out and start to trend from here. Um, is this a market structure move? Well, it's already kind of done the trend thing above the market structure resistance area, and this is where it accumulates. And it already made the short-term reversion, but that's a low range reversion. We could see this thing, if it starts to get some heat here, we could see it hit the 540 line, which is about the middle of our previous high to low range. So that would make sense. And here we have a spike that did that already anyway. So this would now be a fib target. So if we break above the mid range here, first fib is here at about 435. Second fib would be about right up here to 541. And it's just
Yeah.
the 86.6 or the 73 I don't know fib numbers. I just trade the chart, but makes
One
sense to
that
me.
does have options is SERV. That's up nice today too. And I do have the calls on that one.
Nice. Okay. This is one I remember back in the day. This was a Kramer play when we were still beating
Yep.
up Kramer. Um, Followed through all of our price action there. We get good at this after a while. We make it look easy, and I cannot. I'm not gonna apologize for that because screen time will give you that exact same ability, guys. You do this enough, and everything just kind of looks like Matrix code. You start picking the blondes and brunettes out, and their life story is right there in the code. It's same with equities. Half back high range, pretty obvious liquidity zone here. If we bounce out of here, we're already off the 2-hour 200 like a shot. If we hold here around 1570, a quick reversion trade on this thing is right up here about 1840. That's a pretty good move for a sub $20 stock, and it's got that potential. Keep a close eye on the short term here, though. This isn't exactly a rounding bottom. It's not a failed bear flag yet. It's just sort of hanging in limbo. Short-term pivots right there. We're right on it. So let's see if we can get bullish right around the 1560 area and find a reversal to push this higher. But yeah, this is definitely one to be nimble with if you're gonna scalp it. But it is optionable. That could be a decent little wheel trade too. I'm sure it's got plenty of open interest. I'll have to look at that myself for a potential wheel trader. I love options income.
Mhm.
Cool beans. Well, let's see what else we got to look at here. I know that we were kind of looking at a few that I posted alerts about yesterday, as a matter of fact. SOUN was one of them, Soundhound. It did break that danger zone pivot I pointed out here, so the short-term trade is pretty much over to about 1420 where I marked it. That was just an overnight scalp, but now we're looking at the red zone and we just barely breached it. So if it breaks this support area, it could get sold off right down to here. But if it holds here, we got a pretty good shot of running that reversion trade as well. Still, $16.95, $18, pretty obvious reversion target. So watch this zone, were the words I used, and we'll know for sure what to do with it pretty quick here. That is the 50 period right here, and it's just below it. So watch the daily close.
Yeah, I'd love to see an undercut and rally. I mean, this is one of my longer term positions. Was doing great on it, obviously, until it got cut in half in like a week.
Yeah,
Um, I do think, you know, voice AI, video AI is going to be huge. One of the things I'm hearing about voice AI, and I'm a big proponent that the only alpha that's left out there is using AI in your trading.
Right.
One of the things that I believe it can do now is you could put an earnings call into AI, whether it's just, the sound or the sound and the video, and it can, detect inflections and tone, body language, all of that stuff. So if a CEO is on there saying, hey, we're doing awesome, AI can be like, you know what, that's bullshit. This guy's lying through his teeth.
Right.
Just imagine, the power of something like that.
It,
And I am hearing there are big hedge funds that are either working on this or doing it now.
there's kind of a lot to unpack there in that statement, and I see where it has a huge potential to be an advantage for everyone, but it's only going to be how you interpret the data you get from it. And then when you think about it, it's kind of interpreting the data that we kind of already see on a chart. So whenever we look at a chart, we're seeing human emotion, and we're seeing whether people are bullish sentiment, bearish sentiment. We see long wicks. We go, okay, they're full of crap there. Whatever. We can see that in a chart, but when you can read it in inflection in a voice, some people are really good at reading people. Some people aren't. Sometimes you get chartists out there, and I'm kind of on both sides of this. I can read charts and I can read people pretty well myself. I like to think anyway. But there's some who can only read one or the other. So AI can really take advantage of being able to be a lie detector when you get a CEO talking like that. I see where you're going with that, and it reads the chart as well. So comparatively, if you put the data together of what AI is telling you versus what the chart's telling you, you can have an edge, and that's the idea. Is we can know where all the price targets are. That's pretty easy for us to do. I can plot them all the time. Going into earnings, I can say, okay, well, this would be the bull target on earnings call. This would be a bear target on earnings call. Reflecting on previous price action, I can see that pretty easily. Um, but the moment of inflection change in a voice where AI will pick it up now, and it might take you a few extra seconds to read that. Sometimes when you're scalping the after hours during an earnings call, you might miss that. So it's pretty cool to have that tool as a way to move forward for some quick scalps, or take advantage of some really nice quick dips where if they're full of crap on the other side, yeah, we're doing terrible, blah blah blah. All of a sudden you got some liquidity grabbed at the bottom there. It hits support and bounces, knowing where that target is compared to the move that AI is picking up on that, and then you get a better entry than pretty much anybody else who's long term in the chart or in the equity. That can be your advantage as well. So I see it's going to be a really really good place to be, but it's going to take some very keen interpretation. And hedge funds are going to have to almost have a way to analyze the analysis that AI is putting out, which you could use AI for as well. It could basically audit other AI devices. Um, Yesterday, when I was trying to find some of the home builders that would be able to take advantage of the desperate situation in California, I went right on Trustpilot and started talking to it and asking some questions, and I got a lot of fruitful information from that. I was able to pick up a few equities that I'm going to take interest in to watch, as well as some projections on who's got the highest percentage of leverage in there. Um, it was able to do a whole bunch of fundamental analysis, because that's kind of what it does, that I hate doing. I don't like wasting time with fundamentals because I can do everything I need to do with the chart. But having that backup, having a second pair of eyes that can do the dirty work, so to speak, and handle all that busy stuff that I don't like to do, that's a key tool for me. So if I go and I ask questions about fundamentals while I'm looking at a chart and I'm looking to verify what I see as a potential move, that can be a huge tool to benefit from. So things to be mindful of it. And there was a comment about this last time we talked about the AI situation, is it can only be as good as the input it's given. This is true, but it's also going to be kind of a mirror of what we could do if we put our head to it. It just does it faster and more efficiently. So yeah, it's kind of a, if you give it the right input, it'll give you the right output, of course. But it's how you interpret that output, and also learning how to query that thing. It's like learning how to use Google. Some people got really good at it. Most people today still suck at it. I'm really good at using Google to find the information I want because I know what questions to ask. And I learned that, being an exennial, kind of bridging the gap between millennial and Generation X. I developed that ability naturally, whereas people from Generation X might still struggle with it, and there's people who are millennials who still struggle with it. I had that advantage. I knew how to use Google right off the bat. And some of the college studies were teaching people how to do that back in that time. I didn't need it, so that's where I'm at with it. I think it's going to be kind of a similar era to what Google was. Back in that time, it's just going to be you have to learn how to use it, and you have to be able to utilize it in an advantageous way. It's going to take some learning to do on our part, but once it's all there, yeah, huge benefits to be had. That's saying a lot about a little, but yeah, in many words, the simple answer is it's just going to take time, and then once it takes off, everybody will just naturally use it. Quantum computing was one that got destroyed, but is it starting to find support? Well, I don't know, man. I was looking at QUBT. That thing was an epic short for now, but it's right on support. About $6.60 is where we're estimating to be, just basically retracing this entire move. But it's still, and I love to draw these, but let me compress the chart so we can see it. When you have a wedge like that, and it did break the wedge, it failed the trap detector. It came back down, broke regression. Now it's basically heading for a split zone, and I love to put these out there because these are really obvious short-term targets. So if we run down here and we start to break over today, and there's a bear flag on for today, this is the end of it right here. The liquidity grab's done this morning. We're likely to break support here about 650 and shoot on down. We could see a move all the way down to like $3 in a heartbeat on this. And right about there is where I would say the buyers are going to kind of be lurking. And this is where you see me draw these kind of things where, hey, there's a liquidity zone here. Look for the wick. There was support there at one point. So definitely keep an eye on this. I think next week we could see this give us a quick bounce for a good reversion trade. Maybe even going so far as to say we could see that wick all the way down there today, complete this move, hit that support, and give us a quick scalp for back. Otherwise, it's still a decent short. A couple others to mention. Let me see here. PSM, we were talking about being short in this thing, but we also warned that the 200 period was right here, and it kind of gave us that little bounce here. Well, reversion's just about done to the top of the liquidity we see from the previous wicks here. It may still give us follow through on a short. So I don't know if you were still shorting that one or not, Matthew, but
No. Parsons, I'm long.
okay.
Sorry.
No, you good.
Yeah, there are three names: Parson, Lados, and Booz Allen, that are all government contractors.
Right.
And they all look the exact same. The moment Trump won and they started talking about Doge, they all collapsed. So the thinking is that these are all solid companies, and Doge will be harder than you would think, or just, the decline was overdone. So
Right.
that's why I'm long all three.
I can agree with you, at least in the short term. And I like this one particularly because it was an easy trade. But it went right down into the 200, wick below it, tapped this liquidity zone, which I just mapped out here, And I was thinking maybe it'd be a good 1-for-1 short if things continue to be bad, but it did hop off the 200 period and kind of bounce back here. So like short-term reversion target about 95.5 here would be right up the top of our box. But if it rejects there, it could still give us another, at least a quick short back to the liquidity zone. But if things ended up being really bad and they were to start really cutting a lot of those contracts, sure, it could run way back down and complete this move. But for the short term, or at least the short to medium term, next couple weeks, I'd be long on it too, but cautiously, just myself,
Yeah.
my own personal opinion there. And then we looked at LDOS, I think here was the same scenario.
Yep,
Yeah.
same deal. I mean, they all look pretty much the same.
And this one did make a half down, so it did bounce right off that sucker. And we knew where that target was, about 143-ish. And then boing, we're looking for a reversion target of about 162 to 163 on this thing, pretty obviously. And again, just short-term reversion trade, it's definitely on. I would just be a little cautious when it does hit that reversion target and maybe see where we go from there. But yeah, this is going to be above all volatile, and we love volatility, and Trump packs volatility in the market like no other. So we'll live with it. We'll love it. IONQ, another one, glorious short,
That's a
right back
quantum
down.
name. Yep.
Right back down to support. And I preemptively drew the diamond pattern on this thing, and I can see it doing this where we get the reversion back to a half back on this thing right around here. It hit that target, so let's kind of keep an eye on this one. If it breaks here, I'll eat my hat. Sure, I'll short it some more. But in the meantime, um, I'm pretty much pulling off most of my short position on this right here, and I might leave a runner on and maybe switch some of it long if it rebounds here. So I'm keeping an eye on this guy. It didn't just undercut the 50 period; it blew through it, and it's almost a third of the way down to the 200 here. I don't think it'll hit the 200 unless it does break this support area, but for now it's pretty volatile. If this ends up being a breakout bear flag, yes, it's got the potential to smoke that, but it's right here on support. If this ends up being a failed bear flag and we start to break back above the short-term mean here, back above like $30.70 or so, we could see some volatility come in and some volume come in and run this right back for a reversion to this LZ up here, about $40. So yeah, pay attention to this guy. It's going to give us some volatility at the very least, but I'm kind of on the fence on whether I want a long or short here. I'm going to wait and see. And if it does break lower, cool, I'll short it some more. If it holds here, run the rebound scalp and then short it again. Who knows? We'll just trade the chart. Back on an old gem, Geo. Kind of looking a little double toppy here on a 2-hour. It still hasn't given us the half measured move target though, so maybe consolidate into a flag here right on support. 3022 was our previous target. Pretty obvious support area. If it flags here, this could get interesting, and we could see it even more bullish. And this is one of those, well, let's just call it a Trump stock.
It is a Trump stock. It's obvious that it's a Trump stock. Look at the dip when everyone thought she was going to win, and then look what happened.
Oh yeah, they got their faces ripped off, man. That is
I mean,
just
it's a private prison stock that moves like Soundhound.
Yep. And it's got potential to complete at least half the measured move in the short term, and yeah, it's got potential to even go crazy and hit the $40.60 target we have way up here. Just one standard measured move, man. Really easy one. And it's definitely in favor of the bull move. I'm just saying.
Yep.
That trend is strong, my friend. Can we say the same about the other one? I can never remember the stinking ticker on that.
CXW.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean that's that's the ugly stepsister. Not as strong. But if I had and I don't own this one, but if I had a good dip buy, I'd probably buy it.
I mean, about $26 and some change is a short-term half target. It's got to hold support here though. This is like dragging its butt on a bull flag here. Um, but then again, if Geo gets bullish, this will probably do a sympathy play and run with it. I wouldn't necessarily short it though, that's for sure. I would definitely look for longs, and this is looking like we still got a pretty good shot. So yeah, it is the uglier of the two, but it's still basically the same chart, same kind of play. Just let it work out. That's a Trump theme. Um, a few others to look at here. FLR. I noticed it hit that support area we were talking about, and it's right into 200. Is right there underneath it. We talked about this last week where it gave us the half back. We knew that was coming, and then we're back into support here. Can we still consider a long on this one, or are we thinking maybe this ends up being a channel?
I like. I mean, this is an AI infrastructure name. I like it.
And it is right on that 200. So um,
Yep.
I myself, I'm going to watch it for a day or two and see if it gets out of this range and starts to make that move back to like $52. But yeah, I'm leaning on the bulls for this to take over and take this back into trend here myself. So I'll give it a couple of days and make sure it's going to follow through before I throw some weight at it. But it's looking good so far. And then kind of got into some metals a little bit. We talked about FCX following through. It definitely made that half a bearish measured move, and definitely found some support in that area. But I don't think it's over. I think there's a nice nasty liquidity grab the other day where it got sold some more. If it breaks the mean here, if it breaks 38.50, look out because we'll finish this move pretty quick. Um, that's pretty nasty measured move. It did hit the half and hold, so maybe give it a couple days to break. But so far it's still looking like a decent short. Um, one of the longs we talked about last week, Constellation Energy, nailed it, damn near.
Yep.
We knew that 286.60 was pretty easy, and the other day it flew through that target like it was not even there. Um, damn near hit the extension target up here at 315, but it stopped short, about $5 short exactly. The high was 310, and it pulled back for a nice half back. I think it's going to continue to give us at least another fib play here at about 303-ish in short term. But look at the weekly chart. We have this big primary here, and this is about where half would be at 315. Dare I say that this could hit the 330s and 340s in the near future if this thing remains bullish? It is possible. It's got that
Very
kind of
well
heat,
could. I mean, they're the leader in AI power right now.
definitely. So definitely keep an eye on this thing. It's gonna give us at least some more good plays. But so far, so bull. That bear flag fails here. That big old bull bar is saying I am a buyer at this level. As long as it breaks the resistance here and gets above that 2-hour 20 period, we're in good shape to continue this trend. So I'm liking it. At the very least, if you're a scalper, throw an angular at it. It's pretty obvious here. Short-term target, give us the fib of this bar here, right to about 395, 396 or so. It's a scalp. Sure, there'll be some day traders there. But if we break out of that angular, look out. This thing will continue climbing. I already looked at CDZI. CCJ. My voice is starting to crack here. Hold on a second. Lung biscuit. I just didn't want to cough in your ear.
Thank you.
It's no problem. Least I could do. CCJ here, we kind of rejected that area we were looking at, but we're sitting right at a possible undercut and rally on the 200. Just give it a day or two. We'll see what happens here. But so far, the Bears are kind of taking control of this guy. Um, what do you think on this one? Is it going to give us a measured move
I
down?
mean,
And
I think it comes back up, but like you said, it's kind of at that point where it could go one way or the other. I think, you're seeing a lot of demand for uranium for AI. What I did with it is, okay, so I have a longer term position, but then I also bought a shorter term call and I financed it with a call spread on URA,
it's kind of a good
which is
play.
the uranium ETF.
Covers your risk almost 80% of it.
So let's see how that's working.
If by chance we get a big old set of buyers in here in the next 2-hour bar, if we can break above that wick from this morning, we could set up a morning star reversal here for a daily candle series. So watch for that to happen. If it comes up and just kind of stalls right at about 50.80, 50.85, we could see this as a short-term reversal for a undercut and rally, and then the half-back target would be just running back to this bar here, about 55.60. So I could see this getting potentially bullish here, but just as I said, kind of hang out, be patient, give it some time to develop. This thing's not like super volatile, so it gives you plenty of time to react to the price action, and it's kind of in that lull area where we'll wait and see what the reversal does. If it holds through, cool, we got a good shot. But if not, we don't have to take a long. We don't have to take a short. We can just wait and see. We don't have to be jumping the gun on anything. BWXT was another one that was on your radar, and that thing kind of blew through the target here. But can we say maybe getting back to it again soon? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I still like this here. Undercut and rally at the 10-day. This is nuclear infrastructure company. So sold off with all the nuclear names. Now it looks like it's on its way back.
I could see this. I mean, closing a doji in the daily here would be cool, actually. And then tomorrow's bar should test like 114.50 for support, and then maybe give some continuation to run above the high. Reversion target's still pretty much in stone there for now. 123.20 is right in the middle of that previous consolidation here. I still like this one. It's got that potential to make a nice move. In the meantime, that consolidation was pretty obvious, and this is still threatening to be a failed bear flag here. There was some liquidity grab here. They tried to short it, didn't break the box. It held support pretty well. I think we end up with a failed bear flag and we start to run back up to that reversion target myself too. So we'll call it some good dope on that one.
Yep.
Also, we wanted to mention, I should have mentioned this in the beginning of the show, you guys are more than welcome and free to comment, ask a question, whatever. We're here for exactly that. Throw us a ticker, we'll look at it, even if it's after the fact. I had one last week that someone was asking me about one ticker, and I saw it was a short squeeze. It was a penny stock short squeeze, but same difference. We don't mind looking, and if I don't make a new video out of it, I'll at least give you a response in the comments. So we're here to help. We love helping people, and we love price action. This is what we do. Last one, Axon. I like that support test right here at that 539 area where we were looking at that bar.
Yep.
I think it's got pretty good potential to give us a good return in the long and the short term. Watch that 8 period. If it closes a doji here, cool. It'll give us a quick support test about 568, 567 probably tomorrow. With that news coming out, that would make sense. And then we'll see if we get the market structure move we want, where we start to see this trend here. And looking at the monthly here, it's been parabolic. This is just short-term market structure, by the way, not long-term, not like this stuff. But we're looking for continuation in this parabolic trend. It's pretty iconic that most of the time when you make a big move like that, you give a half back at some point, and this is what we're seeing here. That's where that 539 target came from, and it bounced beautifully off of that. So watch here for a good opportunity to stay long in this thing at that point. As long as it breaks well above that 8 period tomorrow by about midday, we could see that trend continue and shoot first target reversion of this trend here is about 624. So pretty obvious stuff to trade on that. And then the measured move follow through. If it breaks above that, half a block, which it did hit here, that's 681, and then the whole block, we could see this thing run to 6 or 770 pretty readily if it gets that kind of momentum. So looking good so far. Just wait and see what we do with this 8 period here. I hope we break it tomorrow and start to run. But hope doesn't pay the bills. Price action analysis does. I think that's really kind of it. I wanted to kind of take a quick look at Apple and stuff real quick, but And then I want to look back at NFE. That thing's a beast. Apple, we were looking at the daily candle yesterday. It was hammer time, and then today it poked up, gave half the liquidity zone back, and then it stopped. So the good bull scalp for running an overnight swing is pretty much done with. Um, are we in trouble with some of the other stuff with chip makers and stuff? I don't really know. I mean, yeah, they're
I
gonna
mean,
start.
watch rates. I mean, it's
Yeah,
all rates right now.
pretty much.
You know, rates didn't come down on that PPI, which is,
Yeah,
I didn't take enough. I mean, I'm up on the day, which is fine, but I was taking profits in the morning when I saw rates not moving.
yeah. I mean, we were scalping the ranged moves on the indexes this morning and pretty much noticed that. But we were all talking about the potential for Apple to take off here, and then yeah, rates had an effect on it. So it was a quick overnight profit from calls, and then we're pretty much hanging in limbo until it breaks this zone here anyway. So I don't know that I would call Apple bullish anytime soon, but maybe we revisit the low on this wick here and have a nice low wave grab for liquidity here, and then we'll see if we can get back into at least a reversion trade. But short term, mid term, just wait. Long term, of course, you want to own Apple for long term, but you might get a good opportunity to snatch it a little cheaper here pretty soon. So we'll wait and see. As far as previous target, I mean, we're pretty good with that one. The mid move here was about 250, 260. It was 260.10 before it reversed, so it was a pretty good blast. We've been right about this before. Here's where we'd look for support and see if people buy the top of that previous flag and start to swing this back into bull mode again. But rates are going to have a huge effect on that. So be nimble in this market for now. Take your profit. Don't forget to pay yourself first, and then worry about the investment later. That's the way I play anyway. Um, quick look at, and I'll look at Talon too if we got time. Um, New Fortress Energy. This was a really nice rotation play. It broke that angular resistance, came back, tested for support. Now we've got potential for a weekly doji close here, right on that 1370 area with the wick of it. We could see this thing give us an opportunity to ride trend here back to full reversion here, but let it break this range here between like $16 and 1370 first before you go chasing that for long term. But for now, the volatility is good for swinging, and we're watching this doji party here for a breakout bar to at least beat the mean. And on a 2-hour chart, you'll see what I mean. The upper edge of that upper range target here to 1590 area is kind of right in the middle of that. Let me move this down to half of mm, and all of a sudden you see, hey, there's accumulation here. So if we set up to where this is a dirty double bottom, it's been all over it with chop, but the stronger moves here with the two bigger bars here and here gives us semi textbook double bottom here after a bear trend for pullback. And if we break above the mean, which we have, we're right there now, accumulate here around this area and we start to get bullish here, reversion target's pretty easy. Outside bull target of a 2-for-1 measured moves right up here at about 16, 80, 88, 85-ish. Pretty good range to be had in this thing. And long term, it's a energy infrastructure stock, and we know all about those. It's been our theme for a while now. So let's look after this thing and see what happens. But for now, it's scalp the volatility. It may give you an opportunity to get long on it and shoot for that reversion again. So Matthew might not miss this one.
No.
um, and then kind of the other mentioned Talon Energy here gave us the follow through, and now we've got some long wiki dojis here on the weekly. So let's see what happens here. I think we get consolidation finishing this week, and we do eventually shoot that bull target we had mapped out at 233.70-ish. That's still in order, and the trend is starting to pick up some strength in here too. We gathered some accumulation. We're above the half mm, stayed above the half mm. We're looking strong here, so that's another energy stock that I wouldn't mind staying into for a little while longer. Monthly chart, parabolic, just straight up vertical. Can it hit that target and then immediately sell off and get capitalized? Sure, this is a theme. Everybody's in it. So let's wait and see what happens when it hits that number. If it just continues going parabolic, cool, keep trading it. Look left. The potential move here is double. So if things get really psycho, just take this whole leg as a primary and realize that if you stack that above the mean, plenty of room. It's nutty. I'm going to leave this on here and gray it out, but that's a potential if we get above this target here and it just continues to go parabolic. But look at this on the weekly chart. It's just another bar. There's that bar, doubles up. I don't know, man. This thing's pretty nutty, but I'm gonna scalp it because it's got that nice volatility. So yeah, I don't know that I would be an investor buying this forever here, but I'm gonna scalp it. Got time for VLO, or you want to go?
What do you got?
Valerio. This was one of yours from last week, and we were looking at it was underneath this LZ here, and I'm like, yeah, if it breaks A to B on this thing, we're gonna see it move up. My reversion target was 130, and it blasted up to 136 here just yesterday.
I got rid of a couple of my oil and gas stocks this morning, but yeah, I mean, undercut and rally at the 50 day. I don't own this one now, but I couldn't argue if you wanted to buy it here.
Well, I did exit my long yesterday after it pulled back, of course, but I did catch a pretty nice move on that from our call out on it and did pretty well with it. But I think I failed to recognize that wick back here as a target, and that's where I should have been looking for a target on that breakout. But my bad, I missed it. I'm not perfect. I would say that if we consolidate here and we start to give us another push at this short-term LZ, we still have potential to hit the long-term up here. So, but yeah, it was just more or less a rotation play. So treat it for what it is. Scalp the range in it until it breaks range, and then start looking for long-term reversions. $150 is pretty reasonable for a long-term reversion on this thing. If you look left far enough, you'll see it. But play it cautiously in the short term. It's going to give you some volatility to scalp first. So swing trade it before you really go long on this thing. And it's got some plenty of swing trade setups to come here. So yeah, I like it. Good stock to trade. Thanks for mentioning it. Are you still short Upstart?
I am still short Upstart.
I think we get at least back to the bottom of this liquidity zone, possibly even today, around 55.60. But if it bounces there, man, I would close it. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching right now the 10-day, which is at 60.50. At some point rates top, stock market bottoms,
Right.
but having a short and Upstart, and I'm also short a firm. Which, oh wow, I'm up a lot on my firm. Not today, but yeah, I feel pretty good. I'm in Jan 17, so I got to make a decision on Friday anyway.
Right. Or at least an adjustment or a roll. But yeah, that Affirm short was glorious too. And there's a few others that they're looking to pull back. But like you said, eventually, the rates will hit the wall, and we'll see where they go next. But Affirm pretty much gave us the again, there's another wick I should have mapped out right in there. Bing. Um, dare I say this becomes a long later? Wait and see. But I think we're at least going to shoot another double bottom and hit that liquidity zone one more time. So about 52.70 will be a good bear target for the short term here. And you've got time to roll into that, or you could just let this play out probably overnight and lock it down. Roll half of it out and maybe sell credit spreads on the first half. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, we did some good short and nose. And with that, I think we're pretty much done for this week. We do have something to mention here. Oops, I got to BTC dropping to 78K. Yeah, that's possible. You got time to mess with Bitcoin for a second?
Yeah, I mean, anything is possible, especially with Bitcoin. I mean, there's no, there's no such thing as valuation.
True.
I would not bet on that just because of the headwinds. where you've got a president and administration coming in that's rabidly pro Bitcoin, and you've got companies talking about using some of their treasury to buy Bitcoin. Now, the contrarian could look at that and say, "Hey, that's a sign of a top," which it could very well be.
Right.
Um, it just, but with all these headwinds, I don't know that I'd bet on it going to 78.
No, I don't think it'll go that low. Last week I printed the red zone down here, and I had a short-term bear target to 88. It didn't quite hit it, but it got close enough for a reversal trade, right off of 89, 89.1, 89.2 here. And then I was helping some friends catch the rebound on that. And they did really well running that back to 95, and then of course it shot on up to almost 98. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see 78 anytime soon. I think that's just a bunch of jabberjaws out there throwing numbers around. But we look at the data first and foremost, and we're in this block here. Perhaps a mean reversion here for the short-term trend back to like 94, 95 is possible. From there, we can call that support. So I'll probably move the red zone up to here about that point, but or just duplicate it, because sure, 78 is about half back of this trend. Looking on the weekly chart, okay, it is possible theoretically. Anything's possible with Bitcoin. We know that, but with everything kind of in an extended doji party on the weekly here, indecision at the top of a trend doesn't always mean it's going to be bearish or even give a half back. Oftentimes you end up looking for a couple of strong bars that'll tell you that there's continuation likely here. Let me show you what I mean. So here we had this range here that was trading forever. The strength was the breakout bar here, and then we had some resistance here, and then blam, we went bullish. So at the end of a doji party, look for that range. If we see it, and again back here, it's the same story over and over again. So let this go a couple more weeks. Let the volatility play out if you're going to stay away from it. If it breaks down and starts giving a reversion, sure, 78 is very possible, but I'm not going to see that happening in the next week. Probably not. If it holds this range and gives us a big old breakout bar and shoots through that 8 period again, just look for rinse and repeat. It's doesn't have to repeat, but it definitely rhymes. And it's done this again and again and again. Worst case scenario is if we see this parabolic and then the big old blow off top like we did back here in 21. Sure, we could go and hit reversions pretty easily. But we're not seeing that here. We don't see a blow off top sign down the weekly, at least anywhere in here, nor on the daily chart except for this guy. This was the blow off top to give back to support. And then again, I would probably start drawing a diamond on this to look for the trend out. If it trends up, cool, we run the diamond bull. If it trends down, we can ride the diamond bear. But I don't think 78's in the cards anytime soon. I think that was about it, unless we were about to get into any others. I think we're pretty much wrapped. So what we wanted to mention, starting this Thursday, you got the mailer out. You also have the webinar that we're doing, and we're kind of changing the format a little bit. I'm still going to be broadcasting here on a YouTube channel as a relay, but we're going to do it more of a webinar style starting Thursdays this week. So I'll get a link in the description after this broadcast. I'll just kind of edit it and throw it in there. So if you want to refresh
And
that.
there's also there's links. Anyone who subscribes to my newsletter, which you can get at tuttlecapital.com or tuttlecap.com. Sorry, there are links to that as well.
Very cool. And then also, I like the heat strategy mailer too. That has been very useful. And if I like it, you should probably like it too. You get a lot of great things to look at, and then you can just analyze the chart and make trades out of it yourself. And it's pretty solid. I mean, it gives you a really good idea of what to focus on at the moment. And yeah, I've been loving it. So be sure to sign up for that as well. That I already have a link for in the description, and then I'm going to throw the link to the webinar in today's description as well. And then we'll see you Thursday. Thanks again.